Hello, I'm Robert from Pinshakers, and in this video we're going to show you how to install the motor driver board, the wiring harness, and the power supply. So the tools you're going to need for this are a .093 pin extractor, a Phillips screwdriver, you want a small one, about a number 1, a 5/16 inch nut driver, wire cutters, a pen or a toothpick, and a 1/4 inch nut driver. Now for the material you should have received, you should have the motor driver board, a 12 volt DC power supply, a 6-foot power supply extension cable, a power supply voltage adapter, wire harness, 2 zip ties, and small wood screws. Now what we're going to do next is install the power supply voltage adapter, and in this case what we're using is the bill validator harness. So if your machine has a bill validator connector, this is the easiest and quickest way to get going. It's going to look like this. It's a little 9-position plug. It should have the neutral and hot wires on it, and then a couple data connectors as well. And this is actually built right into the coin door wire harness. So if you've got this, then what we're going to do is we're going to find, here's a little 1/4 inch nut drive screw here. We'll use this for the ground. Now before you start working on this, make sure you unplug the machine just to be safe. So you've got the ground wire. Then what you're going to do is go ahead and connect the harness. Alright, there's a little tab here. You're going to match it up at the top. It only goes in one way, just like that. And you see we've got a Y adapter off in case you do have a bill validator, or I believe these also are used for ticket dispensers or other things. So now once you're done, you can go ahead and clean up your wires. Now in early WPC machines, they use a 9-position transformer voltage connector. And if you have that type of machine, then you should have received one of these. It's an inline, quick, easy plug-and-play adapter to plug in your power supply. Now here's your transformer voltage connector. See, mine is jumpered for 120 volts, standard US. During checkout, you're going to choose what your voltage is, and your adapter will come pre-jumpered for whatever voltage setting that you are currently running. In order to remove the plug, there's a little tab right here. So you have to pull that tab up and it pops right out. You take the adapter that resends you, plug it right in. Should snap right in with that little tab. You take the other end. Again, there's only one way that these will go in. As you can see, it's snapped in with the tab as well. And then you're going to take the grounding cable, in which case we could connect it here onto this one, or you could connect it right up here. I prefer to connect it to this spot because it's right in with the grounding braid. So this takes a 1/4 inch nut drive. Once you have everything connected, then all you do is take the one end of the plug here and connect it in with the included power supply. Make sure it's in all the way. It should not be loose. The included power supply has a small LED indicator, and then we can turn the machine on, and as long as everything's hooked up properly, the LED indicator will come on the power supply, and then the machine will power up. Now in later WPC generation machines, they use the 12-position transformer voltage connector located on the power box. And if that's the case, then you should have received an adapter such as this one with your kit, and we'll use this to replace the one that's in your machine. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the 12 position voltage connector that's right here on the power box, and you're going to remove your old one. First thing we're going to do is connect the ground. So we'll use this little peg here where the rest of the ground connections are. And you're going to need this 5/16 inch drive for that. And you can just replace this plug. This one, again, just like before, it can only go in one way. Go down until it snaps in place. And then all you gotta do is run your cables. Now the final option you have for getting up and running and connecting the power supply is if you wanted to connect this directly into the service port. So in this one here, this one actually has an adapter. You would have to get this adapter cable, which we do sell on the site, and you can plug it right in that way. Now while this seems like the quickest and easiest method of doing that, one quick note is that this service port stays powered and live as long as the pinball machine is plugged in. So it doesn't matter if you hit the little switch on and off underneath, it will stay live. So that means that the power supply, the driver board, and the motor all stay powered even after you turn the machine off. If you do this method, just make sure you're unplugging the pinball machine anytime it's not in use. So the next thing we're going to do is you're going to take your 12-volt power supply and the 6-foot extension cable, and we'll install that in the machine. Now this power supply that you receive is specifically designed to run this motor. It's a 5-amp power supply. The motor requires 2.5 amps. So if you already have one of these in your machine, then I suggest that you replace it with the one that you received with the kit. That way you make sure you have enough amperage to run the motor. And we also have an optional splitter cable where you can run your other mods or LED strips. You can go ahead and plug this in. Make sure it goes in all the way. Nice and solid. It shouldn't be loose or wiggling around or anything like that. And you take your extension cable, plug that in there. Go and run this on back. Now I've got it on this side, so I'm going to run it up for this side of this wire bundle. Right here. Right, so the board is going to end up going up in this area. So what you want to do is get enough slack so it reaches all the way up to where that board's going to be. All right, so next we're going to install the board. What I suggest you do ahead of time is, decide what kind of inputs that you want. You've got 8 different inputs for the dip switch. Now with the documentation, it should have what your settings are and what you're going to end up choosing. So a couple things: make sure that you don't ever turn these dip switch settings on while the game is powered up. Right? So shut everything off and then decide what you want for your settings. You use a pen or whatever. So say you want position 3 and 6, then you can bring those up just like that. You also have the little motor speed adjustment knob. Now this you can adjust while the game is powered on. So if you run into the solenoid test or the flasher test, depending on what harness you're using, then you can run a test. If it's a little bit too strong, then you can just come in here and after it's installed, you can go ahead and reach up and adjust that. Now, we designed this for you to be able to adjust this by hand, so don't use a screwdriver or anything like that, because especially if the game is turned on, you don't want to accidentally slip and then now you're shorting out something on the board. So it was designed to be easy to where you can do it by hand like that. Now you should have a piece of Velcro on the back, and all you got to do is peel the little backing off of that Velcro. Now we built the harness for this particular machine. This is a WPC 95 version. So for this machine, what you're going to do is you're going to install the board right up here in this area. Okay. If you have an older machine, then you're going to end up installing it down here a little bit further. Now you should have received 2 of these little wood screws. This is where you're going to need the number 1, the small Phillips screwdriver for, and the little mounting screw right there is what you're going to use to mount the board. All right, so now it's time to install the wire harness. This particular one right here is going to be harness B, and this is going to be for special solenoids like the pop bumpers, slingshots, and stuff like that. So we recommend, you're going to see on the guide for your dip switch settings, that you do not turn on any of the ones that say do not use, because there may be another, like a motor or a magnet or something else that we have not tested this kit with yet. So we've only tested them with flashers, with the pop bumpers, and the slingshots, and we've done extensive amount of testing with those. But you know, every machine has different other components, other types of solenoids and things. So we only want to do the ones that we've been testing with. So what you're going to do is, you've got the this is for the motor here. So we can just drop this down. The plugs are labeled for you. We want J114 and J115, which are going to be these 2 right here. So you're going to have to remove this plug first. Let's go ahead and plug these in. Now they came pre-keyed for you too, so you can't get it backwards, but J114 and J115 version. Replace this connector here. There are like 4 or 5 machines that were built with connections on these 2. So for that, what you're going to receive is a Z connector where you can plug in line with those. But most machines don't, so it makes it real easy. You just plug it right in without having to do anything else. This is probably one of the most important things with this driver board, is that it's properly grounded. You do not want to install this kit on a machine that does not have proper ground. Right? So by proper ground, I mean it's got a connection somewhere around here. You'll see this grounding braid should go up into all of your circuit boards should all be properly grounded, and then all through the rest of the cabinet. And then you're going to take your driver board connector, and it can only go in one way because of the way the wires are. I mean, you're not going to install it this way with the wires coming over the connector or the board. So you're going to get your 12 volt DC connection and plug that in there like so, and there we go. So the board is connected. Now for the other style harness that we sell, the harness A, this is going to be for flashers only. All right, so this is, the entire install will be the same as the other one was, except this is going to be on a different plug. This one is going to have an inline connector, so what we have is this little Z adapter here, so that way you can plug it in line. All right, so we want J112 for the WPC 95. First thing I do is remove this one here in order to access J112. You're going to take harness here. Now it's going to come pre-keyed. All right, so you're only going to be able to do it one way. And install it. and then put it out of the way, bring the other plug, and install it right there, and you're done. And all you gotta do is run this up to the motor driver board like you did with the other harness. All right, so now the last thing you gotta do is connect the motor to the wires. Now this is an older version of the kit here with this Z connector. The motor you're gonna receive is just gonna have a 2-position plug, and it just goes in a lot easier. So now once you have the entire kit installed, we can go ahead and test it here. So first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and turn your game on. Now I have the play field up, and I have the shield off, just so you can see in the video that the motor's spinning when I do the test. And we're going to go to the test. So we want the solenoid test. Now I have it set for the right arm and left arm. There we go. Gonna repeat. So once you got it tested working, what you can do now with the game on is make your adjustments so you get just the right amount of shake. Now you're gonna use, you see this little adjustment knob here, and again, make sure that you're just using your fingers to move it. If the machine, especially if the machine is on, you don't want to get a screwdriver up here and mess with it, because you may slip and then short something out on the board. Also, if the machine is on, just leave the switches as they are. Don't move the switches on and off with the machine on. If you want to adjust what drives the motors, make sure you shut the machine off first. With this adjustment knob, it's counterclockwise, lowers the shake, and then clockwise will increase the shake. It's just a 1-turn type potentiometer, so it doesn't continuously spin. And when you turn it all the way to the off position, we have it set to about 25% speed, and then when it cranks all the way up to 100% speed. So we've got a wide range for just the right amount of shake. And so that's the entire installation. Thank you very much for purchasing our kit. Again, you can follow us at www.pinshakers.com. If you have any problems at all or any questions with the installation, please give us a call, or you can email us or text us. You should have received my contact information along with the documentation for the kit. One last note too is that these kits are transferable to other machines. The only differences are that depending on the different types of voltage connections you're going to need for the power supply, and as well as the wire harnesses may be different, but you can purchase those separately on our website. So thanks again.